my name's Alec Longstreth. I'm a cartoonist and comics educator, and I created the book Isle of Elsi, the Dragon's Librarian. And as it says right there in the title, this is a story about a dragon that attacks the tiny town of Igalev, and its name is NOGARD the Dragon. And there's a little boy named Rex and his best friend Sally, and they have to figure out a way to save their town from the dragon. So what we're going to do today is we're going to draw dragons, because dragons are the coolest and the absolute best. And so how we're going to do that is I have an Isle of Elsi activity book, and on pages 18 and 19 there is an activity called Dice Designed Dragons, and that's what we're going to do. I believe the library is going to provide a link to the Dice Designed Dragons handout, but just in case this video is seen elsewhere and you don't have access to that, you can go to isleofelsi.com, which is the home of this book series, and if you click on the store link and scroll down to the very bottom of that page, the activity book is about halfway down. You can order physical copies, but there's also a digital edition, which is a free $0 plus PDF available on Gumroad. So if you click that link, you can get it for free and then follow along with us on this activity. So what we're going to do first is just take a look at NOGARD the Dragon and try and look at things that are the same to many dragons and some things that are unique to only this dragon. Because when you're trying to design a dragon, you have to think about all its different attributes. So what I want you to do is 6 is going to be a very important number today. So why don't you try and find 6 things that you notice about the dragon, attributes about it. And you can either pause the video or just take a moment and quickly look at it. You could jot them down or just keep them in your head, and then I will go over 6 that I see. All right, so one of the things that is very unique about this dragon is that it wears glasses. Not a lot of dragons that I've ever seen wear glasses, so that might be one unique thing we could say. Another thing that a lot of people notice about NOGARD is he has a unicorn horn, which is sort of borrowing from a different kind of creature. So that's 2. You might have noticed that the color of the dragons can be sort of any color of the rainbow. So there's red for sort of the skin, and then the belly stripes and the wing stripes are sort of orange, and then a lot of the spikes are yellow. So it's sort of a warm color palette, we could say. Okay, another thing that people often notice is the spikes, right? That's something that a lot of dragons have. That one might not be unique to this dragon, but there's sort of spikes on the back, spikes along the spine, on the wings, in various different places. How many is that? 4. All right. How about claws? There's sort of a sharp finger and feet shape that the dragon has that are sort of claw-like, but not necessarily claws sticking off of there the same way the horns are. Okay, and as a last one that people notice that's sort of unique to this dragon is the sort of large front teeth. I'm someone who has large front teeth, so I thought it would be fun to put that on the dragon. It almost looks like a saber-toothed tiger or something. So I'll put 2 big teeth. All right, so every time you see a dragon in a picture book or something, you could look and try and determine, what are some of the things that are unique about it and what are some of the things that are the same that you see on lots of different dragons. So during this video today, I'm going to recommend a couple different dragon books that I really love. And one of them is The Sons of the Dragon King by Ed Yong. And this is based on a Chinese legend. And in the author's note at the beginning of the book, Ed Yong talks about how in ancient Chinese civilization, there was lots of little tribes of people, and they each sort of had a totem animal similar to the beliefs of the Pacific Northwest Native Americans. And so they sort of believed that this was their special animal for their tribe. And then as those tribes came together and made sort of the larger kingdom, so did the animals. They all sort of merged and became the Dragon King. So he says, the Dragon King is believed to possess a number of features from a variety of these animals, including the eyes of the hare, claws of the eagle, the mane of a lion, the head of a camel, the neck of a snake, the scales of a carp, and the antlers of a deer, combining the many attributes of China's tribes into one triumphant animal. So that's the idea that I came up with for my dice design dragons. I was like, wow, if you could take all these different animals and sort of cram them into one super cool dragon, then maybe you could separate those things out, randomize them, and then start applying them and sort of come up with a bunch of different dragon designs. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's take a look at the handout. Okay, so here's the PDF handout for Dice Design Dragons. And on the left, you'll see page 1, which has a number of attributes that we're going to work with. There's the body. You're going to determine the length of your dragon, then a head type. Then we're going to do eyes, horns, wings. We will determine the number of limbs that your dragon will have, and then the type of limb, and then we'll add some extras. And so for each of these, we're going to use a dice. I have an app here that can randomly pick a 1 through 6 number, like you're rolling a dice. But you could just do this at home, grab a dice from one of your board games or something, or if you play role-playing games, you'll have lots of dice on hand. But you'll want one, but just make sure to put it back when you're done. So later when you're trying to play your board game, you're not like, where did all the dice go? And so what you'll see is on each of these rows, there's a little indicator for a number, which will determine which one of these body types you're going to use, for instance. So 1 and 2 would be snake body, 3 and 4 would be a round body, 5 and 6 would be a bean body, and so on. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to roll our virtual dice. We're going to fill in the numbers at the top of the page. And then as we do that, I will draw the dragon. And I'm going to do one at regular speed, and then I'll do a second dragon, and we'll fill in with other random numbers. We'll do that sort of sped up so that you can just see the difference between the two. But using math, I determined that there's 2,799,360 possible different dragons using these methods. So let's get set up here, and I'm going to select a pretty small brush so that I can draw what we're doing. All right, so our first roll is for the type of body. So I'm going to pull up my dice, I'm going to say roll, and we rolled a number 4. Okay, so now I would go over here, and I would find that number 4 is right on this round one. So that's the body that we're going to start with. Okay, so over here, I will say 4, and then I'm going to start drawing. And I might zoom in a little bit so I have more room to work here. Okay, so we're going to start with sort of a circular body. And you can do this with any tool, pencil, pen. You don't even need this handout. You could just draw it on a blank piece of paper. You could screenshot the handout right here and use that. And then it's going to have sort of a short tail. This dragon has just kind of a short, stubby tail there. And this is sort of a construction line. If you're working with a pencil with an eraser, you can erase that. Or it's okay if it gets messy because we're going to be kind of cobbling stuff onto this shape. Okay? So our next roll is going to determine the neck length. And what you'll see over here is that 1 is short and 6 is long. So we'll just roll it and see what that ends up being. So we're going to roll the die. We got a 1. So it's a very, very short neck, the shortest possible neck. So I'm just going to put 2 little lines coming off of here, but they're not going to go very far because that's about as long as that neck is going to be for this dragon. Interesting. Short tail, short neck. Okay. So I'll put a 1 over here, just saying we got a 1. And then we're going to roll again. And this time we will see what we get. A 4. Okay. Oh, whoops, and I forgot to write it up here. So we got a 1 for neck length, and then we got a 4 for the head. So let's come over to the handout, and we will see that it is number 1 is an overbite, 2 is an underbite, 3 is a beak, 4 is a crocodile head. That's the one we rolled. And then we'll see the other ones are an old one if you rolled a 5, and a silly one if you rolled a 6. All right, so I'm going to put a crocodile head on this over here. So I'm just going to sort of copy the handout. Don't worry about matching it perfectly. This is sort of how I draw, but you can sort of follow the basic shape, but make it your own and draw in your own style. So I'm going to have a big long mouth here, and then one of the things I like about crocodiles is their teeth kind of go up and down. So I'm going to put a couple on either side of that mouth line, and we'll close that off. All right, it's already coming along. This is already an interesting start to a dragon. Next up is eyes. Let's see what we roll. So we'll hit roll, and we got a 5. Okay, so if we come over here, we will see that a 5. So number 1 is cat eyes, 2 is cartoon eyes, 3 are mean eyes, 4 is cute eyes, 5, which is what we rolled, is grumpy eyes, and then 6 is old eyes. All right, so let's come over here. We'll put our 5 down so we remember that, and then I'm going to draw these grumpy eyes on here. It is a grumpy crocodile dragon so far. So he's got sort of half closed eyes underneath those ovals. Ooh, he looks grumpy. And then you could even throw some eyebrows on here to really make it sort of expression. Get the expression there of someone who's kind of grumpy. All right, so, and of course I forgot to mark it over here, so let's do that real quick. So we got grumpy eyes. Next up is horns. Let's see what we roll. We got another 1. Okay, so I'm going to try and be better about this. Let's put a 1 here. And then let's go to horns. We got the first one, which are ears. These are very similar to NOGARD's ears, but we could have rolled a 2 and gotten horns that go up, 3 horns that go down, 4 antlers, 5 a unicorn horn, 6 ram horns that curl around the side of the head. So I got a 1. I'm going to put some ears on the back of this dragon. And they're going to kind of be like this. Ears can add a lot of expression to a dragon depending on how they're sticking up and stuff. And this guy we know is a little bit grumpy, so they're sort of flopped back. All right, let's keep moving here. Next up is wings. So we will roll our dice, our single die, and we got a 2. Okay, so let's document that up here. We got number 2, and this one is a double option. So what you'll see is if you rolled a 1 or a 2, you get bat wings, which are similar to what NOGARD had, and that's what we rolled. We rolled a 2, so we're doing this one. But if you rolled a 3, you get bird, 4 butterfly wings, 5 or 6 insect wings. All right, so let's come over here, and we'll add some wings on the back, sort of usually up high. So there's lots of room to flap the wings. And I'm going to just kind of generally copy it. I don't have to stick too closely to the handout, but what I usually do is put sort of a little bit of the body extending in there, and then I usually sort of close this off and put some little lines in here. A bat, that's actually a bat's hand. It's sort of their fingers going out like that. And then most dragons have 2 wings, so I'll sort of indicate the other wing is kind of hiding behind the other one. So you can see that there's 2 wings, but that it's sort of behind it. So there's 1 in the front and 1 in the back. All right, for limbs, there's 2 rolls that we're going to do. First, we're going to roll 1 through 6, and whatever number we get, that's how many limbs the dragon has. It might have 1 big foot. It might have 6 arms. We're going to determine that. And then we will do another roll to determine the type of limb that it's going to have. So let's roll first to determine how many feet it's going to have. 6! Oh my gosh, this is going to be exciting. So let's say 6 limbs. And then now let's determine what type of limb it's going to be. We'll roll again, and we got a 5. All right, so we'll say 5. Let's go see what we're drawing here. So for limbs, 1 or 2 is claw. 3 is a talon, like an eagle or something. 4 is duck. 5, which we're going to do is horse hooves. So we're going to do 6 horse hooves. And then lobster is if you rolled a 6. But as I mentioned, we are here to do 6 horse hooves. So let's go over here and we'll incorporate that to our dragon. So I'm going to sort of start just by indicating where these are all coming out so that I can space them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoa, it's going to come way up here. 6. Draw your feet pretty small if you rolled a 6 like I did for a number of limbs. Then I'm going to clean up this little area in here with my eraser. This is like no dragon I have ever seen before. It's already becoming very unique. All right, now let's add the little horse hooves. And what I usually do is I widen it out a little bit, and I sort of have a little bit of fur showing under there. So I'll do that on all 6. Okay, a grumpy, round dragon with ears and 6 horse hooves. I bet it can run really fast. All right, then we're going to put sort of the hoof part at the bottom. There we go. Okay, and then last but not least, we have an extras roll, which will add some sort of interesting detail to the dragon. So let's roll one more time, and we got the number 3. So let's put 3, and the options are 1 is for stripes, 2 is for spots, 3 is spikes, that's what we're gonna do, 4 is bumps, 5 is glasses, and 6 add a top hat. You might have a very fancy dragon. We rolled a 3, so we're going to add some spikes on here. You can sort of put these wherever you want. What I usually like to do is put them down the back of the dragon. So I sort of have them come along the back, sort of where the spine would be, and maybe up the neck. All right, there's our dragon. Now, in Isle of Elsi, some of you might have noticed that Isle spelled backwards is Elsi, and NOGARD spelled backwards is dragon. So what you could do is take your name, like your first name, and if you want to have a cool sounding dragon name, you can take your name and spell it in reverse. So just take the last letter of your name and make that the first letter, and then sort of go backwards. So if my name was Name, this would be Iman, the dragon. So you can name your dragon whatever you want. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm going to do one more demonstration, but I'll speed it up for you all so that you can just see how rolling the dice, randomizing, picking these 10 attributes again comes up with 9 attributes, comes up with a totally different dragon. So you can watch that and then start drawing some dragons of your own. Okay, so now I've drawn 2 dragons by rolling the dice 9 times each. And what you'll notice is that on a couple of things, I rolled the same number. Both of these dragons have grumpy eyes, which was number 5. Both of these dragons have horse hooves, which was limb type number 5, in different quantities, 6 and 2. So even though they share a couple of attributes, they have other things that are wildly different. This one ended up with the bean body with a longer neck, or butterfly wings instead of the bat wings. So what this does is it sort of randomizes it. Hopefully it makes it fun. You come up with some very strange, creative dragons that you might not think of if you were just sitting down to make them up yourself. But, you know, you can have a lot of fun with this. You could make 2 dragon characters using the handout, and then you could start a comic with them and say, what would happen if these 2 meet? They're both grumpy, so maybe they can bond over their grumpiness, or they can find out why each other is grumpy and try to help each other be less grumpy. So hopefully this will spark some ideas, get you drawing and making lots of dragons. You can also get rid of the dice if you'd like to. You could just go through here and say, I think a dragon would look cool with a snake body, an overbite, mean eyes, down horns, bird wings, and duck feet, and a top hat. So you could sort of just select them if you want to, instead of rolling the dice, but I think randomizing it makes it really fun. Okay, before I leave you today, I wanted to give you some dragon book recommendations. I love books with dragons, and so I pulled some of my favorite dragon books off of my shelf to show you. Hopefully you can find these at the library or track down copies of your own. First up is How Drufus the Dragon Lost His Head, written and illustrated by Bill Peet. Bill Peet was a storyboard artist at the Disney studio for many years, and then went on to have a long storied career in picture books. It's a delightful story of a vegetarian dragon who gets separated from his dragon pack and then has a big adventure out in the countryside and eventually gets to meet the king of the land. Another great one is St. George and the Dragon, retold by Margaret Hodges and illustrated by Trina Sharp-Hyman. This was a Caldecott Medal winner. Beautifully illustrated with lavish watercolors, and this tells sort of the classical tale of the dragon slayer battling, St. George and the dragon battling in England. So it's a well-told myth and a beautiful rendition of it. If you would like the exact opposite of that story, which is a knight and a dragon becoming best of friends, I would recommend The Dragon and the Nibblesome Knight by Ellie Woolard, illustrated by Benji Davies. This is a really cute, fun story about a young dragon and a young knight who befriend each other, and it's beautifully written, beautifully illustrated. If you're a little bit older, one of my favorite still illustrated books, but more of sort of a chapter book, is The Reluctant Dragon by Kenneth Grahame. This was a huge inspiration on Isle of Elsi, and it's about a little boy who befriends a dragon and sort of takes that classic St. George myth and kind of turns it on its head. And they have to find a compromise in a way not to fight, because this dragon simply will not fight. And then last, I'll recommend The Book of Dragons by Edith Nesbit. This is over 100 years old. Many editions do not have illustrations, so this would be for older readers, but it's a collection of short stories, and usually there's some kids and some dragons. And then lastly, obviously, if you would like to check out Isle of Elsi, I would appreciate that. The activity book has mazes and short comics and connect the dots and word finds and all sorts of other fun stuff that you can do. And then all of those tie into the Isle of Elsi book itself. You can read all the comics in here for free on isleofelsi.com, or you can order a book directly from me. Thanks so much for drawing dragons with me today. I hope you had fun, and I look forward to seeing what everybody draws and the wild dragons that you come up with. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.